You're listening to the Get Out and Drive podcast with John, Custom Car Nerd Meyer, and Jason, Old Car Guy Carr. We'll be bringing you gearheads everything you never wanted to know about cars and why they should be on the road and not in your garage. Are you ready to get out and drive? Get those cars on the road October 2nd, 2022 to celebrate National Get Out and Drive Day. Visit nationalgetoutanddriveday.com for more info.
Get Out and Drive podcast live at SEMA 2021. We are in the racingjunk.com booth, and we are here with Borowski Racing Engines.
Borowski Race Engines. I'm Joe McCall.
Joe McCall. And they're going to give away, if you're here on the floor, you can register to win one of your engines today?
You can also do it online.
Okay.
So, but the Racing Junk people are handling the sweepstakes. Mm-hmm. Our role was partnering with them to manage the sweepstakes, and also with Comp Cams, who supplied essentially the parts for the top half of the engine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So between the three companies, we're able to offer this sweepstakes engine, which is 700 horsepower and a daily driver, that your wife could drive to the supermarket.
Yeah, we were speaking before we started our live. You said 700 horse with a home with a machine GM block and no power adders, but you make it much better than the factory could do the machining. Explain that.
We have state-of-the-art CNC machining, and so, for instance, the heads are done on our 5-axis CNC. All of the porting, the combustion chamber work. So we are able to really push the level of performance out of whatever heads we get. But just looking at, for instance, the block. Our 4-axis CNC has a precision of 2/10,000th of an inch.
Oh, wow.
And then when we put it on, what really finishes it off is the Diamond CNC hone, where we're able to put a perfectly straight finish on the cylinder to the roughness that we want. And that one has a precision of 1/10,000th of an inch.
Oh my!
And then we're not only is it just the precision of when we're doing the honing, but we use a torque plate to simulate what will happen, because when you have the heads on, because the block actually twists slightly. If you're in a production car, nobody cares.
No,
nobody cares.
No, you're in.
But in our engines, it makes a big difference, because we can see that using the torque plate and the CNC capabilities, we get far more power out of the identical build. Use the same parts, every other thing, but just simply the honed finish, and the fact that when you bolt your heads on, it's perfectly straight.
Right.
And it's the perfect finish. And then, for instance, the hone puts in kind of valleys, peaks and valleys, so that the oil has a flow path. It's all crosshatched.
Wow.
And then what will happen is we also do a brush work on it, so it gives it a plateau finish.
Nice.
Because you don't want all those little peaks falling off into your oiling system.
No, once you break the engine in, and everything that's going to just shave the tops of that off.
So that's why the differences between an engine built to these standards and anything that you would get from either your friendly neighborhood guy with old equipment in his backyard, or the OEs that simply aren't interested in this. It's night and day.
And they do it large tolerances so they can build, a million of them.
Right. And they don't have time, because it's expensive to have the machinery at this level of precision and this level of capability. So, I think it's just people don't realize, unless you explain it to them, the differences between a custom engine built the way we build them, than compared to a crate engine that you order from a big box guy or whatever. They're different animals.
And I still think you told me 700 horsepower numbers from an LS with no power adders. That's amazing.
Well, actually, and this is with starting with the 6-liter block.
I see.
If we go with for a bigger power, like for instance road racing, you would like an aluminum engine for the weight, and with those we would step up to a Dart or an RHS block. And those are 427 cubic inches, and I think one of our customers has one in his car now. It's a 900 horse. It's full race.
Wow.
But no power adder.
No power adders, and he's
adder.
at 900 horse.
900 horse, 427 cubic inches. That's a 408.
Okay. Wow. That is, that's all done from machining and from learning?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So we, every time we do things, we're putting in the tunes, we're changing the finishes slightly.
Right.
So it's never locked in stone.
Well, right, but you're still tweaking it for each build to make each build a little bit better, and then you take your learning from the previous one and make it better.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a learning curve thing. We get better as we go, and the other thing, so do our vendors. And so we share, like for instance, that I mentioned, Comp Cam is one of the players in the sweepstakes.
Okay.
And Comp, the work that we've done with them over the years on tuning the camshafts.
Okay.
I mean, it's like we've been at this for a long, long time, and these are our own custom grinds, so it's not a shelf item.
Oh, right, exactly. Whose intake is that?
That's Fast, and Fast is part of the Comp group. So,
so that's what you said. Everything top end is Comp.
Right, yeah. So that's RHS cylinder heads that we've CNC ported.
Yes.
They're part of the Comp group.
Okay.
And then you'll see the coil packs, the Fast intake manifold and throttle body. And then what you can't see are the Comp Cam shaft. The inside is shaft rockers, the BSR shaft rockers, which is another really big deal.
Wow.
Yeah, so having shaft rockers stabilizes the valve train at high RPM.
Okay.
And of course, where do you make the horsepower?
Big end.
At high RPM.
Yep, on the big end.
Right.
What's generally power band in that engine?
This is actually, that one has a pretty flat torque and therefore horsepower band with that intake manifold. Now, one of the other choices that you have is we're also, whoever wins it can say, I want the Fast high-rise intake.
Oh, okay.
And actually around the corner there's a video that you can see with that.
I see.
That one is better at upstairs. Any of the high-rise manifolds tend to do well
on
up at the high
end.
RPM and not do so well or as well at the low RPM.
Right.
But if you're using it in the street, generally what you want is to protect the low end.
Okay.
If you're racing it, that's not where you live in.
Right.
In the street, you're living at low RPM. On the track, you're living at higher
RPM. Correct. And you can gear that out, and you can certainly help yourself that way.
Well, if you know what you're doing, yes. But the fact of the matter is, if you have a big power engine and you're putting it in a cruiser, what do you want to do? You want to be able to light up the tires when you want, and press your friends.
And you'd be stoplight quick.
Exactly.
Yep.
But the other thing is you'd like to get in it and actually cruise. So what we do, and for that, the issue is, I can afford gasoline. Well, great. Do you want to stop at a gas station?
Right. It passes everything but a gas station. Exactly. And I understand.
What we do is we pair that up with a 4L80 transmission built for that. We also have other ones that are more stout to go with our supercharged engines, which are up in the 1,000 to 1,500 horsepower range.
Wow.
So with that, now the beauty is overdrive transmission, you get great gas mileage, you just put it in drive and off you go.
Right. That's still amazing to me that the technology of that engine, you could have something that is, 4 figures in horsepower and still get 16, 18 miles a gallon. Is that true?
Well,
no.
That one, once you started going with the power adders, and then it will drop. But like for instance, the El Camino engine that I showed you, that was one of our standard 2.9 liter Whipples on a 427 cubic inch Dart build, and that one I drove all over the country because I did power tour with it. I was with these guys down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, coming from Illinois, and with that one, I would get about 13 miles a gallon. But
that's still amazing for those big numbers.
Yeah, and the thing was, I realized after the build that I didn't need 350 rear end. If I was going to take it and just as a show car, I would have dropped those down to 3.0.
Okay.
Now, if it was going to be,
certainly would help you.
Yeah,
immensely,
because that engine had so much power, even without stepping on the gas. That actually power similar to that one.
I see.
When the bypass is open and you're not going down the supercharger, that driving through, for instance, I now live in Tennessee, and driving through the hills of Tennessee, it didn't care if I was going up the hill, down the hill, it just didn't care.
Right, it absolutely didn't care at all. And that gives you that torque kind of feeling in your butt, that blip. It gives you that fun feeling.
Exactly, and that's what the beauty of naturally aspirated engines is that you have that feel for the engine. The torque is always there, and everybody thinks about horsepower, but it's, if you really know what you want to look at, what's the torque at the RPM that I need it.
Right, because it sounds silly, but it's your muscles and your hands and your butt that tells you what torque is fun.
Right.
To get stuck in that seat and get that muscle car pull, that's fun.
What most people don't realize is that when we have an engine on a dyno, we're not measuring horsepower, we're calculating horsepower.
I see.
We have RPM and torque.
Right.
And then there's a factor, and that equals horsepower. And that's all done in the computer.
Correct.
But there's basically a standard formula, and that's why the lines always cross at the same point if you look at RPM, it'll always 5202. Why? Because that's what the formula is.
That's what the formula tells you, and math doesn't lie.
Exactly, yeah. So, I think when we get into the supercharged or turbo engines, then what you'll have is on the torque, for example, the supercharged engines have huge torque at low RPM.
Okay.
So for street, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
The turbos, they have to spool up. They got to get going.
It takes a while.
So they have, their torque curve goes up, whereas the Whipples are flat. So
they go spike and then flat. Okay.
Right, yeah, so it's a different animal, and what are you going to be doing with it? What do you like? Well, I just like turbos. Okay, we'll sell you a turbo engine.
Right.
But if people are looking for, street performance with instant throttle response, turbo's not going to get them there. It's the supercharger will.
Supercharger's
if you have a chance to spool up on the line, watching the lights come down, pick the turbo.
Wow. Well, and it seems you, because of the, is that all you build is LS engines?
Pretty much.
Pretty much?
Pretty much.
Okay.
We'll deviate through an occasional big block or small block if a customer really...
But still GM.
Well, it's not because we love GM so much.
No, understood. But you go where the popularity would be.
And for the business model that we have, however, it's based on having inventory of parts.
Okay.
And so we have like $1 million of high-end LS inventory on the shelf, and thank God we do, because our competitors out there in the world of engine builders, they can't get parts.
Okay.
How do you stay in business if you don't have parts?
Right, you just can't get anything.
Yeah. So, for example, right now, if you want a Dart LS SHP Pro block, and you call Dart, they don't have any.
They don't have any.
We do.
Wow.
We have a lot of them, actually.
Right.
Yeah. Thank God that we do.
Yep.
Because we use them in basically in that whatever we're doing up to maybe a couple thousand horse. That's the block that we use.
Wow. What is the most horsepower or largest cubic inch that you've built from either a stock or an aftermarket LS block?
Actually, there was a recent post that we put up on YouTube and Facebook of one of our customers who has a 454 billet LS engine.
Okay.
So billet means there are no water passages in the heads, in the block. It's the block was machined out of a solid block of aluminum.
Okay.
No water.
Wow.
So you start it up, you warm it up, you take your pass,
shut it off. Right.
And that
is full-on race car like the old block type. They used to pour them full of stuff.
Yeah, well, this one runs on methanol.
Okay.
And so basically it was our chassis, our engine dyno is rated to 2,500 horsepower. Okay. So with something like that, we couldn't air it out. So we do a break-in tune, but he had it on a hub dyno at the company ProSpeed down in Texas.
Okay.
And on the hub dyno, it was able to, show the calculated number at the flywheel was about 3522 horsepower.
Right.
So
wow.
So that's running, so billet block, billet crankshaft, aluminum rods, just everything you can imagine.
Did you build or machine that block?
No.
Or that's someone else's?
Yeah, we purchased the blocks. In that case, it was from Energy Manufacturing, who's part of the Callie's Performance Group. And then we finish machine them and customize it the way we want.
I see.
For instance, the hone finish is critical. We get them there raw.
I see.
Yeah, and then for instance, the heads, we use all pro heads, and in that, and we buy porter castings, which are essentially, you look at them, there's kind of an indent where the combustion chambers go. There's about this much of a hole for the ports. And so we take these porter castings. In that case, it was a dry head, no water passages, but usually it's a water head, and then we'll do all the machining on the 5-axis that I showed you. So we'll put in our combustion chamber, we'll put the port configuration in that we want for the intakes and exhaust. And titanium valves, Jessel shaft rockers, every good thing you can imagine in that.
Well, I mean, in a nutshell, for our listeners, you guys seem to be the super go-to for no holds barred LS builds.
Well, clearly, that is the position in the marketplace that we've looked to achieve. At PRI, we were named Engine Builder of the Year by Engine Builder magazine. And it was basically for the LSs. The vehicle that I just told you about that has that engine in it will be
the solid billet block.
That will be on our booth at PRI, booth number 405. So this another month from now. And along with the owner and driver. Wow.
And I don't know if we touched on it. What kind of times is that car running?
He doesn't like to talk too much.
I understand. I'm fine with that. Not a big deal. Some people play cards real close to their chest.
He's okay talking about his engine and everything, but the car.
He don't tell you where it's at. No, I get it. Did you get
a question from a listener?
Oh, I do? What is the question from a listener?
What's the fastest mile per hour you've driven?
Me personally? Well, actually, I used to spend a good bit of time in Germany on the Autobahn, where I could drive as fast as I wanted to, and as fast as the car would let me. And that was, I remember, and I actually, I'll admit it's pretty stupid, but I even took a picture of the speedometer as I was driving the car. It was, I think it was about 245K.
Nice. That is, that's cooking. That is cooking.
It's funny, the question that was asked by, did Drag Week a couple of years ago, was filming a lot of people, and one of them is actually a famous YouTuber now. She wasn't so famous then, Alex Taylor. And so she has a YouTube channel, Riding with Alex, and I asked her the question, what's it like, tell the viewers what it's like to, go as fast as you do, because at the time she had a pro-charged engine. Now, actually, she was number 3 in A Unlimited class in Drag Week, so she's moving on up.
She's moving up quickly.
So she just flipped her hair back and said, "It's a rush."
Yes.
I can't do it. I don't have the hair.
You don't have the hair?
And I don't have the looks, but Alex was.
Well, everybody that listens to us, they love to get out and drive. And I'm sure you do as well. Do you have personal cars that you get out and drive and you
actually,
have fun?
My personal fun car now. So I bought this 2001 Camaro from our customer, who actually puts on road race events. So he already had it modded for road racing. And problem was, the first day I took it out at one of his events, I found that I'd run out of brake going into a hairpin turn. And so rather than keep going where direction I was going, I put it in, did a little agricultural work.
Little adjustments on the grass.
Exactly. So immediately swapped it out for CTSV front brakes, 18-inch wheels, and then DOT4 brake fluid. And then after that, then we modded it with basically a top end similar to that, except instead of the RHS heads, we took the original LS3 heads and CNC ported them on our 5-axis.
I see.
And then basically when we were done with that, we took it out and we did it in steps so people could see what the effect was, but we road raced it and it came in 12.8 every time. Perfect bracket car. With just the top end mods. On the bottom end, that was still stock, never been touched, with 115,000 miles on it.
Wow. Well, I know we asked all of our guests, what drives you? Because you get to drive a car and have fun, but in this industry, what do you like? What drives you? What makes you do what you do?
Well, the first thing is I love cars. I love big horsepower, and I always have. Okay. I was the 16-year-old kid that you didn't want to live next to, because I'm always tearing up the street, doing stuff. Right. But like, I think most of the people walking around here, they've had a love of cars and engines and all this stuff since they were kids. Yes. And otherwise, it's just a job. Yep. So I do what I do because I like it. My corporate career was doing sales and marketing. Sure. Actually, all over the world. I did international business primarily. Okay. I love doing this stuff. I like talking with car guys wherever they happen to be about cars. I like going to car shows. Yeah. It's just for me fun. I'm an engineer by training, and so I like getting into, actually with me, it's more the theoretical. If I go in the shop and grab a wrench, they pull it up. Yeah. We'll do this. Okay.
We'll do this. We got it. Well, very good. Are you or your company doing anything to get the next generation involved?
Actually, one of the things that we have been doing is using interns and getting kids out of high school. Our current most senior shop manager is, we hired him, he just had his 10th anniversary. We hired him when he was 16 years old.
Wow, so you've just groomed him for that situation. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic, and we really push that with supporting the next generation and passing on information, because what you have will die off if you don't give it to someone else.
Well, like another thing is with that El Camino, it didn't have a fancy paint job. I like fancy paint jobs the same as the other guy, but if I'm going to actually drive it on Power Tour for 1,500 miles, it's going to get chips and dings.
That's correct.
Deal with it. Right. So, I just had, your standard paint job. It was okay. It was a 20-footer, call it.
That's exactly right.
But the thing is, I'd show up at these shows, and everybody, don't touch my car, kid. Oh, yeah. And I'd let them want to stand in the back, and you want to get in, take your pick. They loved it. They were so thrilled.
Put a kid in the seat of a restored car, and that memory will get burned in. Yeah. And that will be their spark. That will be their start. And it's amazing. Yeah. I remember my spark, and I'm sure you remember your spark. Yeah.
Yeah, with them. And the one, the oldest of the lot, I have 7 grandkids, and he's now 7. But since he was a toddler, at the time I was driving, when I go over to visit him, I'd had a Ram truck. And he just loved the Ram. And this one time, his mother's looking to get him out from behind the wheel. No! And he hops over into the back. He didn't want to get out of the truck.
Well, those kind of things, they burn into your memory. And thank you for doing that for helping the next generation. So it's absolutely fantastic. Well, thank you for taking a few minutes and talking with us today. Your socials, how can our people find you?
We are at Borowski Race. And on Facebook, we have a YouTube channel, Instagram. So if you go, and our website is borowskirace.com.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much. We had fun talking to you today at SEMA 2021.
Okay, my pleasure, John.
Racing Junk is the #1 racing and performance marketplace where you can post your racing junk for free.
Parts, engines, race cars, trailers, project builds, muscle cars, chassis, tires, and so much more.
Buy, sell, trade, and browse on Racing Junk and turn your garage into cash in your pocket. Or find that next dream on the site, built by gearheads for gearheads.
And best of all, there's no transaction fees. 100% of what you make through your ad is yours to keep.
Speed over to our friends at racingjunk.com and sign up for a Pro Club membership. Use the code GETOUT to receive a discount when you sign up for a Pro Club membership. Cruise on over to our website, getoutandrive.com, for all the info you never wanted to know about our podcast. Hit us up on our listener hotline, be the first to know what's happening, get industry news, and grab your Get Out and Drive merch. Connect with us on social media. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow us on Twitter at Get Out and Drive Pod.